Welcome back to another Rogue Thursday. Mega Venusaur is one of my favorite decks of all time, and last year I covered it in the 1 month 1 deck series, but now it's time to bring it back and see if this massive grass machine can still destroy the competition. Here's the list I've been running, and the game plan is simple. The deck revolves around your stage 2 Pokemon, Meganium and Mega Venusaur. Meganium's ability lets us double our grass energy, making our attackers much cheaper and allowing us to power up our attackers much faster. Then we have Mega Venusaur, which is both our main attacker, and its ability lets us move our grass energy around the board so our attackers are always ready to swing. The biggest problem with running multiple stage 2 Pokemon is obviously getting them into play quickly. Thankfully, we get to take advantage of Forest Vitality to solve that problem. It makes setting up our stage 2s much easier and lets us get our Meganium and Venusaur online in a single turn. And then we have Teal Mask Ogerpon, which might be one of the best partners we could ask for. Teal Mask gives us card draw, energy acceleration, and a powerful attacker all in one Pokemon. As for the techs, I'm running a few interesting options. First, we have Regigigas, which gives us a fantastic finisher against Terra Pokemon. Next, we have Genesect, which gives us a way to hit Pokemon on the bench. Its damage also scales depending on how many energy are attached, meaning it can potentially reach the numbers we need to take down EX Pokemon. I'm also running 3 copies of Judge, since Judge gives us some extra hand disruption against our opponent while also helping us refresh our hand at the same time, which can be especially useful in a deck that needs to find several specific pieces to keep setting up. And finally, I'm running Max Rod. Max Rod works extremely well with Forest Vitality because it lets us recover an entire evolution line along with some energy. That means we can potentially use Forest Vitality to immediately get our stage 2 back on the board after losing one of our main Pokemon. There are some other options you can try. Unfair Stamp gives you additional hand disruption if you want it, while Secret Box can help you find multiple pieces at once and set up those explosive combo turns. If you want to try the deck for yourself, the full deck list is down in the description below. So now let's see if Mega Venusaur still has what it takes to destroy the competition. Alright, the first game I got for you guys is going to be a meta matchup against Dragapult, and I did win the coin flip and chose to go first. I tend to try to go first with this deck, so that way then we can take advantage of a Forest of Vitality. That way then we can try to take out some early knockouts while our opponent is still setting up. Now, and as for our turn, it's not the greatest, but we at least get down a Chikorita. We have a Bayleef in hand. We also got down a Grass Energy on our Genesect, so that's a pretty solid start, especially with this being a Dragapult deck, meaning if we can get into a Meganium next turn and attach this Grass Energy, then we will be able to one-shot any Pokemon that they put on the bench that isn't an EX. Primarily their copies of Dreepy is what I'm looking to go after. Now in here, they do use a Buddy Buddy Poffin, so now we see what version of Dragapult this is, and it is the Dunsparce. They also get down a Risky Ruins. They honestly should have held that in hand just to be able to play around the Forest Vitality. That way then they could Stadium Bump it next turn, but they didn't, so we will take full advantage of that as well. Now in here, we do get down the Bayleef, then just use the Lilies to see 8 new cards. And what a good hand we get. We do find the Meganium. We also get to use this Bug Catching Net to be able to get another copy of Teal Mask. We can also draw with both copies of these Teal Masks. What we are really looking for here is either a Bulbasaur or Ivysaur. Unfortunately, we don't find it, but we will still be able to take out their Dreepy that has a Fire Energy attached, and that is going to be very strong for us. Now in here, we do find another copy of Pokepad, so as long as they don't go attach energy and use Badoo, then we will be able to guarantee a Venusaur next turn. But that does require us to have Forest Vitality still in the field. Our opponent did already play one Stadium, so the chances of them having another one is pretty low as well. Now in here, they will be using a copy of a Pokepad, getting a Dunsparce. This way they can draw an extra 3 cards this turn. They still have Fez to use as well, since we did take a knockout during our turn. So they do have 11 cards in hand. They're going to actually Stadium Bump, so that does hurt a little bit here. And they do end up having another Pokepad to be able to get a Dracloak, so they will be able to do a little bit of looking at the top of their deck. They're also going to use an Ultra Ball here, and what they're going to grab is a Shaman, so now Genesect isn't very useful. But we can still get a little value out of the Genesect later on in the game, potentially, giving us a way to one-shot this copy of Fez, if they do decide to move it this turn. Now in here, they are going to use their copy of Dracloak. This way they can look at the top two, they put one in their hand and put the other one on the bottom of the deck. That's honestly, in my opinion, what makes the Dragapult deck just so strong. Now, and they do attach a Dark Energy, but they're going to keep the Fez in the active. So let's see if we can punish them for keeping a 2-prizer in the active. Starting off our turn, we will be using a Pokepad, getting down a copy of Bulbasaur. Then we have 1 bench space left, and that is going to be used for this copy of Meowth, being able to grab another copy of Lilies here. Now, we are going to be going down in hand size, but it gives us better draws into what we need, and we find all the pieces to be able to get a Mega Venusaur down. We also get an extra energy to draw. Then we have Bug Catching Net, which is going to be able to get us yet another energy, so we can also do another card draw with our Teal Mask. Then we can just retreat into the Venusaur here, be able to use its ability to attach energy from our Pokemon and move it around however we like. This way we get to spread our energy out, and if they did have like a boss play, we now aren't going to lose all of our energy to them just knocking out a singular Pokemon. Now, and we will finish our turn by taking that 2-prize knockout, going down to 3 prize cards already, and this is barely our 3rd turn. Now, and here they will be using a Night Stretcher, getting back their copy of Fez, and then using a copy of Meowth as well. This way they can grab whatever supporter, but they're going to grab a Crispin here because it's at the do or die point where they really need to start attacking with a Dragapult. From here, they will be using that Crispin, getting a Psychic to hand, and attaching a Fire for free from that Crispin, then attaching the Psychic for turn. Now, other things that we have to worry about at this point is they will be able to deal 200 damage to our copy of Venusaur, which may look like they can 2-shot our Mega Pokemon, but we heal 30 damage when we attack with Venusaur, meaning that we'll end our turn with 170 damage on this Venusaur. So unless they get down a Monkey Dory plus a Dark Energy, they're not going to be able to deal with our Venusaur in 2 turns. Now in here, they will be using a Pokepad, getting another copy of Dracloak. This way they still have 1 to do a little bit of searching, and they find their A-Spec 2, which is the unfair stamp, putting us down to 2, but we get 2 copies of Lilies, so we are going to be able to see a ton more cards next turn. They will then use their Dracloak to be able to look at the top 2 again, and then they are going to use a Crushing Hammer here. They do end up hitting heads, so they're able to get rid of 1 of our energy, putting us down to just 4 grass energy on the board, but we do have this Meganium that is doubling that energy, and all we need is 2 energy with Meganium on the field to still attack with Venusaur. Now in here, they will be swinging with their Dragapult to finish their turn, dealing that massive 200 damage to our Venusaur, and spreading damage on both of the Teal Mask plus the copy of Meganium. Now in here, we will just be using 1 of our Lilies to see some new cards. We do find a Stretcher, so we can get a Grass Energy, do an extra card draw here. We do have 2 copies of Forest. We have a Chikorita as well, so if they go for the Chikorita next turn, which is going to probably be the best play that they could go for, since they're not going to be able to deal with our Venusaur unless they have that Monkey Dory plus Dark Energy play. Now, and if they do have that play, we still have ways of winning the game within the following turns, since we did just deal 240 damage to their copy of Dragapult. They'd be able to heal 30 damage, meaning that they're at 210, so it's pretty easy for us to get enough energy onto 1 of our copies of Teal Mask. That way then we can deal with this copy of Dragapult, and then a boss, or even just fully getting another Venusaur online and powering up the copy of Genesect could just win us the game on the following turn. Now in here, they're going to go for a different play. They're actually going to use a Boss's Orders, and instead of going for the Meganium this turn, they're just going to bring up a Teal Mask. This way they get to take a 2-prize knockout, and they're going to set the full 60 spread damage onto our Venusaur, meaning even if we attack with Venusaur and heal 30, it's still going to be within the range that they can now deal with our Venusaur. So this is a tough decision. I could just throw up the other Teal Mask here, but I choose to throw up the Venusaur instead. My reasoning behind this is that way then they're now in a position where they have to choose, do they take out the Meganium or do they take out the Mega Venusaur? This way we still have a solid chance of being able to win the game next turn, especially given what they're going to take a knockout on. Here we do take our 2 prizes. It is another copy of Teal Mask and another copy of Judge. So our hand's not looking the greatest, but it is going to be enough to deal with what we got to deal with. Now in here, they will be using a copy of Fez to draw some extra cards, then using their copy of Cloak to be able to look at the top 2, add one of those to hand, putting them at a whopping 11 cards in hand yet again. They do get down a copy of Dunsparce now too, and then they will be getting down a copy of Dragapult. This way they can now attack. They're also going to get down a copy of Monkey Dory, so we definitely need to win the game next turn. Now in here, they will just be finishing their turn by swinging with that Phantom Dive, dealing the 200 damage, so they will be taking out our Mega Venusaur here, but they're going to choose to put 60 damage fully on our copy of Genesect. That way, they are pretty much guaranteed to win the game on their next turn, just from their spread damage alone. Now, and for what we're going to throw up here, I could throw up the Genesect or I could throw up the Teal Mask. I'm going to choose to go with the Teal Mask because it needs a little bit less energy compared to the Genesect to be able to win the game. Now, in here, we do just throw up that copy of Teal Mask. We do end up top decking into a copy of Stretcher, so we can use this Ultra Ball first, getting rid of both of the Forest, getting a copy of Bulbasaur, benching that, and then use another copy of Ultra Ball. This way we can get rid of a Judge and a Chikorita, get the Ivysaur, be able to evolve right into there since we still have the Forest Vitality on the field, then use the Stretcher, get back our Venusaur. That way then we can move the Grass Energy around. We're also going to be using Special Red Card just to be able to thin it out of our hands, so that way then it's one less card that we have to worry about drawing off of this Judge. And from the Judge, we actually find a Grass Energy, so that gets us one extra draw. We can use this Bug Catching to be able to grab both a Teal Mask and a Grass Energy, so now we will have just enough energy on our board to be able to take the knockout. So here, all we need to do is just use our Venusaur, move the last 2 grass that are on our benched Pokemon to our active, so that way then it does enough damage to one-shot for game. Alright, the second game I got for you guys is going to be another meta matchup, this time against Excadrill. One of the big tips that I have for this type of matchup though is that you want to rely less on your Mega Venusaur and more on your Teal Masks, since our opponent's going to be having to attach 5 energy if they want to be able to one-shot your Teal Masks. That's a free 150 damage right there for your Teal Mask. So you want to be relying on those 2 prizers to answer their Excadrills. Now, and as for their turn, they're getting a very solid board state. It's what you generally expect from an Excadrill player, is getting a copy of Drillbur and then getting down another benched copy of Drillbur soon, and then they will be having a total of 3 Beldum and a Genesect. That's generally the go-to board state that you want as an Excadrill player. As for us, our board state that we're hoping to get is 3 copies of Teal Mask and a Meganium, and then we can get whatever else extra there, like the Genesect, to be able to snipe later on in the game. Now in here, we do attach another energy and get down this copy of Ivysaur. This way we can swing with the Ivysaur, and we did have to use our copy of Meowth to be able to get our Lilies to get into a better hand. Now, and unfortunately, we still haven't found everything that we need just yet, but we do have another Lilies to use as backup next turn. So we're just going to take our first prize of the game, which does give us another copy of Teal Mask. We did get down 2 more Teal Masks last turn, so that's pretty nice. As for our opponent, they're just going to promote their copy of Drillbur, immediately go into an Excadrill, and now get down all 3 copies of their Metang. They still get to do some searching using their copy of Genesect as well, just to thin their deck a little bit before they start using their copies of Metang to try to find energy. Now, they whiffed on the first one, they got 1 energy on the second, and for the third, they found 2 energy, so they're going to be able to take a knockout on our Ivysaur since they now can deal 200 damage using their second attack. So what we're going to do is throw up the Teal Mask that has a grass energy attached. We can get down to this copy of Bulbasaur, get down another copy of Teal Mask, use the stretcher to get back a grass energy. That way then we can do 1 extra draw using our active Teal Mask. Then we can either attach for turn to said Teal Mask or just do some more drawing, and we do go into this chain of grass energy, so that's real nice. And we do find a Pokepad to get down a copy of Bayleef. Then we will be using our copy of Lilies, going into a new hand, but this isn't a very good hand at all, so we can at least use the stretcher, get back another grass energy. We're only dealing 180 damage here, so I have a big decision. Do I swing for that 180, making it easier to be able to go and take a knockout using a Teal Mask next turn, which is what I decide to do, or I could have just retreated into the Bulbasaur and just giving up another single prize knockout. So it was a tough decision there, but I decided to be aggressive, force them to have to get up to the 5 energy onto their Excadrill. That way then it makes it easier to take a knockout next turn. Since we already have the Meganium in hand, all we're missing is a single grass energy to be able to swing and take the knockout. Now in here, they do hit 3 more energy after getting the final 2 energy that they need on the Excadrill. This way they can start powering up one of their Metangs, and then they will just be finishing their turn by taking that 2 prize knockout. We do now top deck into the Forest of Vitality, but unfortunately we don't. So unfortunately we're not able to attack this turn, which means that we are now going to have to use this boss, bring up their Genesect, and then bench this copy of Genesect of our own, retreat into it. That way then if they do get enough energy onto their Genesect to be able to take the knockout, they're only taking a single prize. But that will still mean that we're in a very bad position. Unfortunately for us, they do have the boss's orders, so they're able to bring up our copy of Teal Mask that has the grass energy still on it, and they have Secret Box too. So now we know that they're ace back with Secret Box instead of things like Hero's Cape. Now, from this Secret Box, it's going to be kind of a challenge to figure out what they're going to grab from here, but most likely it's going to be either a way to put some energy back into the deck, so like a energy recycler, or they could even be running some air balloon, which they are running the air balloon, meaning that they will be able to retreat from this copy of Genesect back into their Excadrill this turn. They also use a Buddy Poffin to get down another copy of Drillbur. Now they will be using their copies of Metang, seeing how much energy they can hit. They find 1 off of the first one, they don't find any off of the second, and for the third, they do find 1 more energy and they attach it to the Metang this time. This way they can go into a Metagross on the following turn, guaranteeing that they will be able to attack for game next turn. So we need a lot to be able to still have a chance here. Hopefully finding a copy of Lilies would be nice to give us a good start. Unfortunately, it is a grass energy, so we get 1 extra draw, but it's into a Venusaur, so we concede. And that's Mega Venusaur for you. I still really like what it brings to the table. Having a tanky main attacker, energy doubling from Meganium, and the ability to move that energy around the board makes Mega Venusaur surprisingly difficult to deal with. And between Teal Mask, Regigigas, and Genesect, the deck has plenty of ways to deal with different types of threats. It's definitely not the fastest deck in the format, but once you get your Stage 2 engine online, it becomes extremely difficult for your opponents to break through. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.